Welcome into Weekly Champions right here on Wrestling Spotlight TV. We did have to kind of change our format with the news breaking this morning. Hulk Hogan passes away from a cardiac arrest at the age of 71. That was this morning in Florida. It was reported initially by TMZ Sports. Then the video started coming out, and all of the stories from across the wrestling landscape talking about the impact of Hulk Hogan on the sport and getting into a little bit the tarnished legacy of the later years, as got to be some really controversial, some really reprehensible statements and, personal failings. But I want to really hit on the impact in pro wrestling because, really, you can look back and say that without Hulk Hogan, you'd have an extraordinarily different landscape in the wrestling world today. Gerald Bentley here. We're on Wrestling Spotlight TV, coming to you on True TV Plus, on Sports.tv, on Carbon TV, on Watchy, and 20 other services, joined by Sonny, the Man Eagle, Cain, who flew around the rings of WCW during the era of the Hulkster being there, and then Mr. Cincinnati from the Wrestling Junkies podcast joining us here. And we were talking before we went on air. You guys had the severe thunderstorms last week, and I'm looking at potentially 12 straight hours of rain. It's just a matter of whether we get done before the rain comes in or not, as the storms come whipping across the Kansas Plains towards Kansas City, Missouri. But yeah, let's get back to Hulk Hogan. Just on the surface level, what was your take, Sonny, on the Hulkster passing away at 71 years old?
I actually saw a clip yesterday from Jimmy Hart, supposedly on Facebook, and he said that the Hulkster was unable to talk, and there was concerns yesterday, but it wasn't fully disclosed what those concerns were.
Mm-hmm.
I had wondered why he was sent home so quickly from the hospital. The business.
Well, that is what hospitals do now.
Yeah, the business keeps things so tight wrapped when the guys go down usually that it's hard to find anything out. But I was shocked. I mean, it's a big deal. So.
Yeah, it was kind of surprising too, because Jimmy Hart, the Mouth of the South, former manager, but also longtime associate, longtime friend, he came out and said the reports and the rumors of Hulk Hogan's intimate demise were greatly exaggerated, and as it turns out, they seem to be quite true. But
right.
looking at the reality now, he has passed away, 71 years old. The picture behind me, that is Madison Square Garden from this afternoon. You made an impact if the Madison Square Jumbotron is a remembrance picture of you during the afternoon in New York City. Mr. Cincinnati, your initial take.
Yeah, and then we talked a little bit about this before we started recording here, but it's a very complicated legacy. There's no denying the impact that he had on the wrestling industry and kind of ushering it into a new generation with pop culture, cable television. It was a perfect storm of happenings that allowed for Vince McMahon to capitalize on Hulkamania. But then there is the other side of that, the Hulk Hogan that crossed the picket line when Jesse Ventura tried to unionize, or somebody who is seen as very protective of his character, not wanting to do business with people. It's again, there's no denying the impact that he's had on this industry that we get to cover, and we probably would not be doing this if it wasn't for him ushering in that new generation. But it is hard to separate the art from the artist. I don't know if this is irony, twist of fate, coincidental, but his passing is 10 years to the day of the Gawker tape being released to the masses and kind of exposing Terry Bollea to the world. So it's very interesting, and that coincidence it's not lost on a lot of people. Again, very complicated legacy. A lot, tremendous impact to the wrestling industry, but some aspects of the person were left to be desired, and there's no doubt that WWE will pull out all the stops for some sort of tributes over the next few weeks. I would imagine a 10-bell salute tomorrow, and just kind of a rushed sort of production of remembrances to play through SmackDown tomorrow. Sure. So overall, complicated legacy. Condolences to his family.
Absolutely. There may well be something coming up at SummerSlam too, because you have a major signature event coming up just a week or so away. And it was definitely a controversial latter half of his life with the overt racism that was released on that tape. He ended up winning a lawsuit for $115 million from Gawker later on, but the impact was felt. I mean, he was essentially booed out of the building on the first Raw on Netflix. But if we take a look back at when he was at the height of his career, I mean, it's just crazy when you think about it. The AWA, the American Wrestling Association, Vern Gagne's promotion coming out of Minnesota, they were the number 3, I think you would say. You had WWF, the NWA, and then the AWA. The AWA had Hulk Hogan. He was challenging for their world championship, but would never get it because Vern Gagne, who was a former Olympic wrestler, would not give his championship to someone who wasn't a legitimate amateur wrestler. Hogan ends up, that's why he never beat Nick Bockwinkel for the title. There was a few, to use the phrase, dusty finishes where Hogan appeared to win, and then they gave the belt back to Bockwinkel.
I've been telling me about that.
Yeah, Hogan ends up leaving AWA over a dispute on merchandise sales. Vern Gagne could have had Hulk Hogan as they were getting ready to start their ESPN TV contract. Instead, he goes to the WWF and becomes Vince McMahon's focal point, beating the Iron Sheik for that WWF World Championship. And that got the train started on Hulkamania. So in a way, Hulk Hogan leaving killed the AWA with a big assist from Vern Gagne and accelerated the WWF into that rock and wrestling era, which was at the time the most popular pro wrestling had ever been. And for most people, okay, hey, that's a great career. But then after that was running out, he goes to WCW. And as we were able to talk with Marc Raimondi, the author of Say Hello to the Bad Guys, Hulk going to WCW coincided with Eric Bischoff deciding to do an invasion angle. And that changed everything in wrestling again. Let's take a little listen to Marc Raimondi here on Wrestling Spotlight Weekly Champions talking about Hulk going to WCW. Just give a little perspective of the career.
Because of his involvement, his unlikely involvement with Eric Bischoff.
Yeah.
Over business matters.
And what's crazy, Mark, you can still on a wrestling, if we have wrestling talk radio going here, I could open up the phone lines and say, hey, fill up the phone lines. Let's talk about 83 weeks and the NWO, and the lines would light up. It was almost 30 years ago.
Yeah.
How was it that impactful? I mean, you spent obviously years digging into it.
Yeah.
What was it that Hall and Nash coming in and then Hogan joining just utterly changed the face of pro wrestling?
It was a whole different vibe than what was going on in the early to mid 90s at that point. And what I mean by that is the WWF was struggling. The steroid trial had just finished up in 93, 94, and they had taken a big PR hit, a big reputation hit, and they had also taken a financial hit because they spent a lot of money financing that trial, against the feds, which
Yeah.
is not an easy thing to do. So they were kind of struggling financially. The business was down. Hogan and Savage left to go to WCW. Now they were past their prime, and Vince was okay with them moving on because he felt he was already kind of going in a different direction with the Bret Harts and the Shawn Michaels and the Undertakers and guys like that. He was kind of going in, like, remember the new generation, that whole deal. He was trying to get younger,
Sure.
trying to get guys that didn't look like they were juiced up on steroids because after the reputation hit of the trial. So Hogan and Macho Man go over to WCW, and it does immediately help WCW's business. But WCW was always considered a second-rate promotion compared to the WWF, as you were saying before, Gerald. To the outsiders, but and also to people in the business, it was always felt like it was not on a level of the WWF as far as popularity, money, production value. Right? Just the show didn't look as good.
Sure.
So as much as Hogan and Savage helped, they didn't help to the extent where they were gonna beat the WWF anytime soon, right? The business went up, but not a great deal. And pretty soon after Hogan arrived, business kind of started to plateau, and it was hotter, initially, and then he had a program with Vader in '95 that really didn't do big business, and he was starting to get a little bit of a booze, right? Hulkamania had kind of become passe, right? It was not what people wanted in 1995, 96.
And that kind of sets up what ended up becoming, I guess you'd say, the final major act, becoming the third man to join Hall and Nash with the NWO, and then kicking off that 83-week stretch where WCW actually beat WWF on TV. Nitro was beating Raw. And that was so impactful because the NWO, the invasion angle, the cool heel, that was really kind of the first time we saw that. And Hogan, you could argue he wasn't the most integral part of it. Hall and Nash, I think, were really the drivers, but he did give it legitimacy by coming over and then held that WCW championship. And how much did that WCW NWO run influence what we see today in pro wrestling? And I mean, Mr. Cincinnati, we see it in Seth freaking Rollins with his faction. We saw it with Roman Reigns, and we sure saw it with the Death Riders trying to take over things, driving in black and white video montages, which come straight from the NWO.
Yeah, it's almost ironic because he was one of the most colorful, almost cartoonish characters of that golden age of WWE, but then comes over, and Eric Bischoff, to his credit, wanting to inject a sense of realism into the product, and that was what you saw with Hall and Nash using their real names, and kind of alluding to some sort of pseudo brand warfare of are Hall and Nash outsiders that are here to take over on behalf of Vince? Are they not? And creating that mystery. And NWO is I mean, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall have always talked about how iconic it was because Nash is still cashing royalty checks to this day for NWO merchandise. So I mean that speaks to the longevity of what they were able to do. Despite some of the incarnations, making you scratch your head a little bit, especially in the later days of WCW.
Towards the end,
But there's no denying the impact that that heel turn had on the industry,
and kept WCW going a lot longer than it would have otherwise. Because, like Mark was saying, the Hulkamania run was a short-lived bump, and then it was kind of fading into the background again. So that reinvention, being the bad guy, really did make it go again. And then in later years, went to TNA with Eric Bischoff again, and they kind of sparked some life back into TNA enough to get them a TV contract, actually a better TV contract than they've had at any point before or since when it was on Spike TV, and kept TNA alive because TNA is kind of the little engine that could. They're still going. Really just incredible when you look at the impact. And the question that Mark asked later is, without the NWO, do you have the Attitude Era? Is Stone Cold Steve Austin the cultural impacting figure that he is? Does The Rock become, what The Rock has become, being arguably the most bankable movie star in the industry and being the most electrifying man in professional wrestling? I don't know, because it just changed the attitude and changed the dimension so much. And then even the icon Sting reinvented himself with the Crow motif that saw him carry his career just until, really a year ago. I don't know if any of that happens.
You'd be hard pressed to say that any of it does, because Vince wasn't really adapting until he felt that he had to. We had the click backstage, and yes, you would have still had Levesque and Shawn Michaels, but if NWO isn't, presenting their realism, or DX doing the sophomore humor that we had come to know and love, it's one fed the other and vice versa for a very long time.
Well, and Sonny, looking back, we've often talked about it. When the WWE doesn't have competition, those are bad times in pro wrestling. You experienced it yourself as an active competitor.
Mm-hmm.
Once WCW was out, the WWE really went into, like a car with a bad transmission, it went into limp mode. And I think you could say without much argument that the best recent era of WWE is when they've had to actually deal with a legitimate competitor in the form of AEW.
Right. And I still say, after jumping on the AEW train here the past 15 months or so, I don't think it was AEW's intention in the very beginning to run neck and neck with WWE. I think social media had a way of rounding that out and having to viewing wars and this, that, and other. But I think they find themselves there now. I saw a clip of Hogan on the biography about Hogan, where he's driving his truck, and he said he was more comfortable being the bad guy than being Hogan. He said he didn't ever feel really comfortable doing Hulk, but he felt more comfortable doing the bad guy routine later in his life than he had doing Hulk the entire time. And that was a little bit surprising, but that's the way it goes sometimes. I don't think we would have had the LWO. I don't think we would have had all these little buddy groups had it not been for the NWO, Ric Flair, and the Four Horsemen. I will go to my grave saying that Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen started your major groupings of, hey, I got your back, and this is how we're going to proceed. So I think it was a real combination of both of the guys working at separate ends of the spectrum for a time, and they just happened to have some right structural ideas of where they wanted to go with things. And boom, it made the industry what it is as a whole. Hogan's the greatest GOAT of all time, I think, even above my guy Ric Flair. So,
okay, I was going to ask, as we wrap up this segment, favorite Hulk Hogan memory?
It's an old cameo shot of where he's talking to Paul Orndorff, and he says, Paul says he called him and he couldn't get him, and Hogan's explaining to him. In fact, it was shown today on Facebook, and
Okay.
Hogan says back, well, I was under 475 pounds at the time, dude. I went to answer the phone and you were gone. So things like that actually happen sometimes when people are training for various things, and wires get crossed and egos come out. My second favorite memory is when he slammed Andre the Giant. It's like everything he said, he made Muhammad Ali style predictions about what he was going to do. Nobody believed that he could pick up Andre by any stretch of the imagination. He did. Hulkamania went on for a few more months, and then phased out. And I never understood why they let go of Hulkamania as hot as it was for as long as it was. Uncle Ivan and I talked about that too from time to time, and we just shook our heads to it because people to this day buy Hulkamania merch. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hulkamania and NWO. Mr. Cincinnati, a little bit younger
Uh,
demo than both of us.
Rock versus Hogan. That Rock calling him out for the first time on Raw, challenging him at Mania, and then having the ambulance semi truck spot. Yeah, definitely an iconic Hogan moment for sure. So yeah, I'd say that.
Well, I'd go with either that initial defeat of the Iron Sheik for the World Championship in the WWE, or you hear it all the time on Busted Open Radio if you listen to Sirius XM. The clip of Bobby the Brain Heenan doing color commentary for WCW going, Hulk Hogan has betrayed WCW. And then he continues going, he's the third man. Just made such an impact. So two big tectonic shifts in pro wrestling. We'll wrap it up here with just one more click from Marc Raimondi. Then we'll come back and talk a little Slammiversary, a little SummerSlam, and get our last memories, our last impressions of AEW All In. So from Wrestling Spotlight, rest in peace, Hulk Hogan passes away today at 71 years old. Here's Marc Raimondi, the author of Say Hello to the Bad Guys, talking about how that last run, the NWO, connected to everything going on in wrestling today.
You know, NWO, if that doesn't happen and doesn't get as big, does the Attitude Era happen, right? Does Vince have to change to change his product to catch up with WCW again? And if that doesn't happen, then is there a Stone Cold that gets as big? You know, is The Rock as big? Is The Rock the biggest star in Hollywood right now? You know, I mean, there's so much domino effect that started, I think, with the NWO. And that to me, Gerald and Sonny, is why it's so relevant today, because that really was like a formative, like, storyline, time period. Everything clicked.
Yeah.
Everything clicked. It was so of the time, and people remember it for being just like cool and different and just very 90s. But look, everything comes back in style, right? I see kids today, they're wearing the same stuff that me and my friends were wearing in like 2001. Like, what is going on here? And that's true. Everything kind of repeats itself. And I think the NWO is something that's going to last for life, right?
NWO for life. Well, something that is always clinging to life, and they seem to have stabilized themselves now, but maybe at a cost. TNA Wrestling, they come off of Slammiversary. They had it at the New York Islanders Arena, the UBS Arena on Long Island, and they sold out those 6,000 plus seats they had blocked out for it. They end up drawing over 7,000 people, 7,024. That's the biggest U.S. attendance in TNA history. You think they would have had some that were bigger, but that's it. So TNA doing well, at least at the box office. You can't really see ratings because their TV network on Access just really limits the amount of viewers they can get. But the partnership with NXT seems to be helping. I just wanted to ask you guys, does it come at a cost? Is it like they say in Marvel, Every time you use magic, there's a cost. They're getting more attention, but they're losing their high-end competitors. Jordan Grace, the Juggernaut, she goes to WWF. Trinity Fatu, Naomi goes to WWF. Joe Hendry getting ready, as all reports are saying, to go to WWE. Their current TNA champion is now Trick Williams. And as of Slammiversary, the women's champion is JC Jane. Mr. Cincinnati, did they sacrifice their soul in order to get a little bit more attention and a little bit more attendance? Because I don't know if this is good for TNA long term, because they actually legitimately do look like a minor league for the WWE.
Yeah, and in some ways that I don't necessarily look at that as a bad thing. While I am genuinely shocked that JC Jane walked away with both titles, this was not what I had on my bingo card in 2025. My thought was that if Trick Williams is going to take the men's world title in TNA, that the Knockouts champion would take the NXT Women's Championship, and really wanted to see Masha in that spot here and just kind of even things out. WWE doesn't do anything where WWE isn't the first and foremost to benefit from a partnership. We've seen that before in the previous attempts with NWA, AAA, things in the 90s. But it's a different playing field now, especially for TNA, because again, you said at the beginning of the segment, this was their highest attended show ever, and WWE had a lot of involvement in that. And that's not to say that TNA's creative is not good right now, because it's great, but it's because of this partnership and the things that are coming with it. We saw AJ Styles come back, first time in 12 years that he has set foot in a TNA ring. I don't know if that's happening if this partnership is not a thing. It's not like it hadn't been asked before. Like it probably isn't. But when you look at what WWE has at its disposal right now, they've got NXT that they can send talent over there. They have the ID program. They have Evolve. They have AAA. They have all of these talents that they can use to help out TNA. Is it likely that Joe Hendry is going to sign with WWE when his contract is up later this year? Probably. But this creates an opportunity for a guy like Mike Santana, who is organically over right now, and I hope is the one to take the title off of Trick Williams at Bound for Glory. It's hard to gauge, whether the partnership is failing or successful, because we really weren't sure what to expect. And that was a lot of it, was they reduced this partnership to writing. We've seen talent coming back and forth, but there was really no clear-cut expectation of what TNA management thought that this partnership was going to look like, and what WWE thought about it, and what has actually been achieved thus far based on whatever that alignment might be. Again, still very surprised that we have NXT wrestlers holding the top titles in TNA, but it's a good setup for a TNA comeback.
Yeah, and I think we have a different reaction if very well regarded, very well respected former TNA Knockouts champion Masha Slamovich, who is a huge draw on GCW cards as well, if she retains the title. Because then you go, oh, okay, Trick Williams is great. He's a terrific wrestler. And honestly, he probably deserved to go to the main roster a year ago. So it's good for Trick Williams. I have no problem with that. My question is, how much does it diminish TNA? And you could have said the same thing with the partnership with AEW, which was much more limited, but left them with AEW talents holding their world championship for the better part of 2 years between Kenny Omega and Christian Cage. They got a little spike in ratings, but I don't know at the end if that really helped TNA any, because Sonny, I don't think anyone in America thought Rich Swann was beating Kenny Omega for the world championship.
No, and if we're discussing TNA, the Hardy Boys have climbed the ladder one more time for 15 World Heavyweight Tag Team Champions. So Matt's lost all kinds of weight like I'm doing, and
Yeah,
Jeff
he looks
is
great.
bulked up a bit, and I think it'll eventually be emerge, but I think it's in the beginning stages. I like seeing the NXT wrestlers go to the end of TNA. I keep up with NXT weekly now, and I like seeing the TNA guys appear on NXT. So what you have, gentlemen, is you have a crossroads that did not exist back in my time, where workers could go anywhere and everywhere to make that dollar and be considered in the top leagues. You had the Mid Atlantic Wrestling Alliance still around, which is where I worked out of in Wilmington, North Carolina, with promoter Joe Wheeler. Y'all may have heard of him. I worked out of NWA a bit still as they had their leagues. AWA came down some. I got to do a thing or two with them. But you did not have your consistency, and that's the point, the bullet point that I want to point out here, that you have today, and that if the wrestler's not happy in WWE, it ain't a big deal today. In my day, when I turned down the WWF because of a bad role, that was huge. Nobody much did that. They all went in there. God bless Dusty Rose, one of my favorite guys, put on polka dots and made it work. I knew, I knew when they gave me the deal that they were giving me, I wasn't going to be able to make it work. And today you have development going on. You have people coming out of the WWE training center, going straight to NXT, perfected their skills more and more. You have all kinds of women's talent. So I would say the next 3 years, there's probably going to be a good merge of these groups again. But what I'm hoping to see and hoping they can do this time around is keep their own identity intact while they merge. Sometimes that gets thrown off.
Yeah.
Companies
Well, hey,
put
let me ask this, since maybe we're thinking about this wrong. Maybe like you guys are saying, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Has it gotten to the point now, or maybe they're developing in more of a baseball model, where TNA is essentially going to be AAA, where you have some of the stars of yesteryear that are still wanting to compete. They're still going at it. The Hardys, Nick Nemeth, former Dolph Ziggler, they're regular features on TNA Wrestling. Brian Myers, Frankie Kazarian, Matt Cardona. So you have the guys who were at the highest level, and they're still hanging in there. They're crafty. They're wily veterans. They're still going. You got a few prospects, and then NXT is essentially double A, and double A is where all the real young prospects are. And then if there's not a spot yet in WWE, you can go up to TNA, get a run there, and then it's an easier transition because you're working with some guys who have been up there.
Right.
I mean, is that kind of what's developing? And if that's the case, then if TNA is okay with that, hey, it's all right. I mean, the Omaha Storm Chasers do pretty good business being the Royals AAA affiliate in Omaha.
Well,
there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, there's a saying in the business that's didn't mean to cut you off, Mr. Cincinnati, but there's a saying in the business. Remember the guy when he's going up, and remember him when he's coming down. If he gets hurt going up, they used to send him over to Japan or to Ring of Honor to work there until they got strong again. They told Mick Foley, I read his book. It's yay thick. I still have my copy. To set up the rings, to go to lower himself down and humble himself enough to set up the rings as he was on each show, to work as he worked his way back into WWE, and he did that. Your analogy of what's occurring, I think, is spot on. because I think these leagues now, due to social media, fanfare, and everything that's buzzing around, have much more leverage than they would have back in the day if ECW and WCW and WWE had emerged back then. We just didn't have it, and it gives more longevity to life, to the life of the worker. So that's how you keep the business flowing, in my personal opinion.
Okay, fair. I mean, do you like that analogy, Mr. Cincinnati? Maybe you got the major leagues, the WWE, Triple A's TNA, and Double A's NXT, and they're all going to
Yeah, I
have,
do.
they're all going to go fine. I mean, they'll all exist just fine. And maybe we're being unrealistic saying, okay, TNA, you have to be WWE and AEW because I mean it's not happening. It just isn't. I mean, mathematically, it can't.
Yeah, and it's a great analogy. And what's nice is that this helps TNA because you also mentioned this earlier. Their TV presence isn't large, so it is access television, which I don't know, what percentage of cable networks across the country, get that, but it's given this opportunity to them to expose talent to NXT audiences and vice versa. And it is another avenue for storytelling. Like, one of the biggest criticisms that NXT has, at least in my mind right now, is that you have people like Trick Williams, Tony D'Angelo, JC Jane, people that have been ready for call-ups for years now and have survived the doldrums of the 2.0 era and finally kind of gotten their luster back. But Trick Williams is a good example. He lost to Obafemi a couple of times for the NXT Championship. If there was no TNA partnership, what is Trick Williams doing on NXT right now? Because I just think he would get lost in the shuffle if he were called up right now. There really isn't anything that he can put himself into right away. Some people might make the argument of the Seth Rollins group, which I would listen to, but this has helped to again give people something to do because there's only so many hours of TV each week.
Yeah, and TV time is the most valuable commodity in pro wrestling, and it's a dramatic difference. They are talking about getting a new TV contract. TNA Wrestling dramatically outperforms the channel they're on, and I know we've spoken a lot and said, hey, ratings don't matter that much. It matters when you're at like a 10th of the other guys or a 20th of the other guys. Average rating on Access TV is around 26,000 viewers. TNA has been able to knock on 100,000. So they're dramatically outkicking their coverage on what is the 92nd ranked channel in the top 100 cable channels. But they're limited. Obviously, they don't have a huge streaming platform like Netflix or HBO Max, and they're not on big time, high end, top tier cable systems like USA, like TNT, like TBS.
And you pay extra to get the channel that they are using now. It's like $25.
If you can even get it, there's only a very few systems that even carry it. And most of the newer ones don't. YouTube TV, Fubo, Philo, you can't even get it. So hopefully they get on that new TV platform, and maybe this partnership helps them jump that. And because the more, like you've often said, Sonny, the more promotions going strong, the better everything is. And you're getting some great matches. You're going to get the Hardys going up against the Dudleys one more time. Wow. Devon going to get into the ring with Bubba Ray, it looks like, again. Bully Ray on Sirius XM, Bubba Ray when he's a Dudley. So we'll see how that goes. That should be interesting. That's coming up the next TNA pay-per-view event. Since we're talking about events that have happened, Mr. Cincinnati, your take on Adam Hangman Page capturing the AEW title from Jon Moxley. And Moxley's going to get a rematch here coming up in about a week.
First, I think it's amazing. This match, I know there's still some time left in 2025, but for me, that is it has to be match of the year for me right now. And there's certainly other ones that can make an argument for it. One of which being the main event of Evolution. But AEW has been around for 6 years now, and we know that All In is their biggest show. But that moment of Hangman taking the title out of the briefcase and raising over his head as Justin Roberts is timing the and new to go with it. That's the first quote unquote WrestleMania moment it felt like AEW had ever had. And they've had a number of phenomenal things happen in that 6 years, but this was the first one that just felt like that's how you close your biggest show of the year. That is that lasting image that will be in highlight trailers for the next generation. Amazing match. It very much was reminiscent of WrestleMania 40 as far as the Avengers aligning to take down the Death Riders. I don't understand why Mox is getting a rematch so quickly. I honestly thought that he would be going away for a while after this. He certainly deserves the downtime and the time to regroup, I think. And I think it would have been kind of a natural conclusion of the Death Rider story. But I would imagine the Hangman's going to get the win here again. I just don't think the rematch is necessary with how they built to it and the fact that it was a Texas death match, which usually signals the end of an angle.
The only thing I could see is maybe this is the paradigm shift in personality for Jon Moxley, and he realizes, okay, I've kind of lost my way. Let's get back on track. I agree. It is pretty quick. I did like what you were saying, though, about the end of the event, because the feeling in the building was great. And I really hope, because AEW tends to go back to the same venue over and over again for the pay-per-views. I think they should make July in Texas an annual event, because that is a tremendous facility. We just had the picture up here. Globe Life Stadium right there next to Texas Live. The glass building is the Lowe's Hotel. You have AT&T Stadium just off slightly to the right, and the ballpark at Arlington slightly to the left. An amazing facility, and if they can make that a destination and draw, Globe Life can seat 40,000 people, and I think if you have an even more sustained run up to the event and people know it's coming, I think you get that and you pack that dome stadium with that facility. That'd be a great signature tentpole event for AEW, and then head off to London for the Wembley Stadium event, which Tony Khan has already said they're going back to. Mm-hmm. That's an amazing 1-2 punch and rapid succession, July to August, 2 huge events, and you can wrap up half a year and then really begin the other half. I think that'd be a great way for AEW to move forward, and looks like that's where they're going. We'll have to stay close and pay attention to see if that is what comes out of it. They're now going to be building up, Sonny, to Forbidden Door coming up in London. This is their event that they had to reschedule to the O2 Arena because of some band that's fairly prominent in the UK, Coldplay, playing at Wembley Stadium, so they're not able to go there. Yeah. But next year they will. Are you feeling that momentum? Do you feel like AEW has really hit their stride again? Because I think they're in a position where they were, honestly, before Cody left. They seem to be really clicking on all cylinders again. What do you think, Sonny?
I think they've got their strides back. I think the storylines of it aren't as long as in the WWE currently. I made a tweet on X. I said, I'm just ready to go back and see a good guy versus a bad guy again in independent wrestling, and just watch the match and not have to sit through a year-long storyline of something. Um, but that's the way that's the money angle to things. I think when I saw the All In Stadium, I thought, good Lord, it looks like WrestleMania 3. I told a buddy of mine on text messages, I said, it's a major turning point for AEW. And if they can keep the feeling that they have in it right now, I think everything will turn. And I agree with your 1-2 punch of going overseas right after and combining things over there too. The more you play the same place, the bigger the crowd. Dorton Arena, you had nights when Fanfare couldn't get in. They have outside concrete slabs that hold the arena up, Mr. Cincinnati, columns. Fans would line those columns, crawl over the fence, Mr. Gerald, and go up all the way to listen to what was going on inside.
Huh.
And
Okay.
you had a full house inside. I mean, people were literally everywhere. Fire codes had to have been broken those nights, no question about it. It only happened a time or two, but there was a time or two my family and I couldn't get in before Mom started seeing Ric Flair. And after that, it was front row. It didn't matter what time we got there. The tickets were in were this box that you wanted them to be in. And it just happened. It clicked. Everything clicked. And that's what AEW is trying to do now with the build that they have.
Sure.
People ride on Tony Khan when he first started up. Not seems like not so long ago. They said he'll never pull it off. Well, go back and rewatch All In.
Yeah.
Like
6 years and
So,
years, and they're going strong with 3 million reasons a day to keep going. So
I've
yeah,
watched him
I agree.
3 out of those 6 years, and they've badgered him nearly nightly at the end of it. So,
Oh yeah, and he's a pretty impressive individual too. When you get a chance to talk to him, because he definitely has his finger on the pulse of everything going on with not just that team, but with Fulham and to a degree the Jaguars too. So definitely a busy guy, and I think they're taking what made them strong and also incorporating and learning from some of the criticisms, because you are seeing more story elements come in to give you a reason to care about the matches, which is a good balance. And I know we've talked about that before too.
I think we're all in agreement that we're tired of the Death Riders, and if Moxley
I think they're going away.
was to retain the title, for sure, let him do this run by himself. It to me, to continue to use the Death Riders in every single match waters Moxley's ability down. Again,
Absolutely.
Flair didn't do that. Flair went out. He fought your Terry Funks. He fought your Hardy Races and your Dusty Roses mostly on his own. And when he would call on the group would sometimes show up without him saying anything. I know that to be true. And you just if you're the top man, you don't need help in every match, or you shouldn't.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Mr. Cincinnati, you feeling good about the direction and how they're heading into Forbidden Door?
I am.
There's no way Moxley's winning next week.
No, not a chance. Because we know that MJF is waiting in the wings, and that's got to be Hangman's first major rivalry is with MJF. They have phenomenal chemistry, and we've kind of flirted with the rivalry before, but now that the world title's on the line, especially including the potential involvement of the Hurt Syndicate in that story, there's going to be a lot to watch for, and AEW is definitely back on the upswing right now.
Now let's move over. They still have a week to build up to it, but SummerSlam is coming up. your first two-night SummerSlam at MetLife Stadium in New York. And we have our main events with John Cena, the Never Seen 17 world champion, getting thrown through a table and signing under duress for a street fight against Cody Rhodes after Cena said he was mentally and physically exhausted from acting. He couldn't wrestle. Are you guys excited for this rematch?
Very. I think it'll be Cody's night. I think it will change, and I think it's going to be a December show. I've been predicting this a minute, and Cody's the QB1, and then you have Roman Reigns, the OTC1, and I think they are going to somehow pair them against each other is the feeling I'm getting from watching as much as I was. So.
Okay, like that. Mr. Cincinnati, how do you feel about Cena against Rhodes?
I can only hope that it is better than what we saw at WrestleMania. It was not a great match. This overall, the title run itself for John Cena has been underwhelming. The Travis Scott interference or the spot at WrestleMania just kind of soured it for me, and it just did not improve from there, which is unfortunate. We knew that this was something they wanted to do because you can print all of the John Cena merchandise with the record break and all of that good stuff. So make your money. Totally understand that. But it is time to get Cody, get the world title back on him. Podcast Dad is predicting a double turn at SummerSlam, with Cena finally reverting to the guy that we have always known, and Cody finally embracing the dark side, the heel turn that a lot of us have wanted to see since he returned. It would be a fun way to, it would be a fun way to lead into the back half of 2025 if Cody, the guy who vanquished Roman Reigns, all of a sudden decides to embrace his dark side as well.
I see him winning, and I see him winning in a little bit of a more aggressive way, but I don't know about going fully bad. I think you get more of a Randy Orton type where, this is a chance. Okay, let's go. And still being loved along the lines of Randy Orton, who makes efforts to say is a mentor of his. And I think he can kind of split the difference. I just don't see him going fully to the bad, but I understand the prediction, not a terribly out of line prediction at all. The other championship match, probably not the match we were expecting, at least the way it came about. Gunther taking on CM Punk. One more chance for CM Punk to show he's still the best in the world. Sonny, is this CM Punk's opportunity to recapture WWE Championship gold?
I think so. We've been discussing CM Punk now for almost as long as I've been a regular on the show. So, and I said I don't think I remember making this comment. I said I don't think they are going to have CM Punk just idle in a movie somewhere or doing whatever they go and do, and then not come back and do something huge. And I think CM has proven his worth week in and week out. He's, as all of us, he's not getting younger by no stretch of the imagination. I mean, how much momentum does one need to go over the top? I think the faces are going to come out that night in fair shape. He looks ready to go to me. I mean, he's been, God bless him, he's been put through a table. He's had everything in the world done to him, and he still bounces back. And I think that's the makings of a real champion fighter. Gunther, on the other hand, greatest heel in the industry today, bar none. I think he's better at being a heel than My mind's going blank, but I think he's
An MJF?
probably he's dominating everybody. He's dominating the unified champion right now. And they are not giving him fair interview time, I don't think, at this point in time. And why they're not letting him interview better now and get out there and make real comments instead of what I call angled comments is just beyond me. It's the nature of the game, I guess, and trying to fast forward to where they want it to go. So,
Well, Miss Cincinnati, I will give Gunther credit for being the best condescending heel in the sport today, because he is very smug, very condescending, and in all honesty, he's proven it in his work too. But
I just want to say one more thing.
Yeah,
sure.
I think the John Cena event. That's the name I was that just wouldn't come out. But I think we're going to see some more R-Truth. I don't think R-Truth has left the building by no stretch of the imagination. So.
No, he's still bubbling around. CM Punk, does he get it done this time?
I do think that CM Punk gets the win here. However, he will not leave MetLife Stadium with the belt. I think I'm in the camp of this Seth Rollins injury is a work, and I think that he cashes in at SummerSlam. Poetic justice, because Punk thwarted Drew McIntyre's cash in a couple of years ago. I think that Seth Rollins is looking to return the favors. So, yeah, that's my thought. That's my feeling, is that I think that Rollins cashes in, another heist of the century, and the war with Punk continues.
I would have to give Seth a lot of credit for really committing to the bit then, because man, he was on crutches filling in for Rich Eisen on the talk show on NFL Network. He's been cited walking around on crutches at an event with his daughter. Went as far as to say we couldn't take the MRI because the swelling was too bad, which is 100% true. That does happen. You have to work out the joint and get the swelling out so you can see a good MRI. So they're definitely doing a good job telling the story if it is a work.
My question is, how ready can he be in this short amount of time if everything we're hearing is true about what's going on with him?
He's a visionary. He's a revolutionary. He's Seth freaking Rollins. He's ready tomorrow.
I think
he doesn't need to be ready. He's good to go.
I really think he got hurt this time.
And he's got a pair of highly skilled lackeys around him, and Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. So I'd like my odds going into a fight if I had Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker warming up the competitor for me. I think I could go in and just get a cheap shot. But hey, there's plenty more SummerSlam to come up. I'm sure there's going to be more matches coming. A couple of great women's matches. So we'll be back. We'll talk about those. We'll preview that all next week. I just wanted to get a little bit into those top few matches. And it looks like we're going to get the original Bloodline going up against Seth Rollins' group as Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, main event Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. Looks like you're going to get Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed in a tag team, which is going to be a terrific event and continue that Bloodline story, because the Tribal Chief's not too happy with the Wiseman right now.
No, I saw a tear in the Wiseman's eye, and I saw a smile from Roman. So I don't think they're totally out right now. I think some more talking has to be done between the two. So,
well, we'll wrap it up here. We'll go to our champion of the week, Mr. Cincinnati. I wanted to ask what's coming up on the Wrestling Junkies podcast, and congratulations on hitting that milestone of subscribers on YouTube. I know that's something you guys have been pushing for a while, and
thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate it. 500 down.
On the show.
Yeah, so next week we'll be doing our SummerSlam coverage as well. We have Millennium Pro Wrestling standout Brendan Devine stopping by the show next week, as well as our friend Adam Bolt, who wrestles over in the UK, joining us this upcoming Monday. So you can find us on X and TikTok at Junkies Pod for more.
Awesome. Well, here, let's go with our champion of the week here as we wrap it up on Weekly Champions on Wrestling Spotlight. Busy, eventful week here.
Come see me, Nixie XS, the Versace of violence, the main girl, the height of fashion, on Wrestling Spotlight TV on True TV Plus.
Thanks to Nixie. Wrestling Spotlight TV title here on the line. We'll be at Central States Wrestling for their return show coming up at the Abdullah Shrine Arena in Overland Park, Kansas. That's coming up on Saturday, the 26th. So a big night for professional wrestling here in Kansas City. Nixie XS may even be there. Moonshine Mantel's going to be there defending that CSW title. So it's great to see Central States Wrestling back. It's a promotion that can tie their lineage back to Handsome Harley Race and Sonny, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. He initially won his NWA US Championship at Central States Wrestling back in Kansas City, Kansas. So a lot of history involved. Mr. Cincinnati, your champion of the week.
So I have not one, but two, and they were both standouts of the Scenic City Invitational, one of the premier independent wrestling tournaments in the Southeast that took place last weekend. Former alums of this tournament also include Javon Evans and Nathan Frazier, among many others. But shout out to the 2025 Scenic City Invitational winner, Jameson Shook, as well as the 2025 Action Future Showcase winner, Tommy Davis. As a result of his win this weekend, he gets an automatic spot into next year's Scenic City Invitational. These are two guys that need to be on everybody's radar right now, and this weekend is only the beginning for them.
Okay, great stuff. Yeah, lots of great wrestling going. You can see a lot of independent wrestling on the channel too, but by all means, tune in to the Wrestling Junkies podcast. They definitely have their fingers on the pulse of the sport, because the stars you're seeing there are the stars you're going to be seeing years later in WWE and AEW. A lot of the guys and girls WWE ID program have appeared on the Junkies podcast. Mm-hmm. Sonny, your champion of the week.
I too have two. One, current CM Punk for being so resilient this year and coming literally from what one could say the basement of wrestling. When he started out, he literally has climbed his ladder up. We've seen him hauled out on the stretcher. We've seen him carried out. We've seen him rolled out. I mean, we've seen everything that could be done to him. He's come up short all year long. And he finds himself in a peculiar spot where now he has a shot at a title, at a heavyweight title for a second time. I don't think he's coming in last this time. And my second champion is Hulk Hogan for going out and living the life he wanted to live. And I think I said this about my mom. There's a lot to be said when one goes out and does exactly what they want to do and pays attention to no one else. Good, bad, Hulkamania, NWO, whether you liked them or loved them or hated them, Hulk Hogan at the end of the day and night had people's respect. And that's how he'll be remembered. That's why he's the GOAT of all time.
Yeah, and you know what? I have to go with, I was thinking about Jade Cargill and Naomi, because they are going to get their championship moments at SummerSlam. Naomi doing a great job cashing in on that Money in the Bank and really giving this championship match a little bit of extra heat, a resurgence for Naomi after she threw out the tag title and left with Mercedes Moné back a few years ago. She made that detour to TNA, won the championship there as Trinity, and now back holding championship gold in the WWE. But I do have to acknowledge Hulk Hogan because, like we said, and like Marc Raimondi said, the author of Say Hello to the Bad Guys, without Hulk Hogan, it's quite possible that the world you see in pro wrestling looks a whole lot different, because responsible really in part for that initial surge of the WWF, WWE, and then that whole era of just putting over the top Hall and Nash as the cool heels with the NWO that you still see resonated to this day in pro wrestling. I mean, the obvious homages by the Death Riders with the black and white promos. So easily one of the most influential pro wrestlers of all time. So I think, yeah, we got to end with that, especially today. And Madison Square Garden doesn't turn the Jumbotron on if it's not an impactful deal. Hulk Hogan, rest in peace, passed away today at 71 years old. Easily one of the most influential pro wrestlers ever. And if nothing else, always in the news, good, bad, or indifferent. Lots of wrestling going on today. We'll be back. We'll talk about SummerSlam, break it down, and then get ready for Cauliflower Alley Club, the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. I'm going to be there live. That's coming up August 18th in Las Vegas, where Mick Foley and Natalia Neidhart, the low-key legend, are the two main honorees. They're going to be getting the Lou Thez Award from Cauliflower Alley Club, taking place at the Plaza in downtown Las Vegas. So big week, and we'll be back talking about SummerSlam. Stay tuned. Check out the Wrestling Junkies podcast. They got their SummerSlam preview and some great interviews. And Sonny, where can people catch up with you as well?
People can find me at Sonny Cain, at Rose Sonny Cain on X. People can find me on Facebook at Sonny Cain, the Man Eagle. Hit me up. I'll hit you back, and we'll have a conversation.
Okay, awesome. And Mr. Cincinnati, the best place to reach out, and we got to get up to 1,000 now.
Yes, you can find us on X and TikTok at Junkies Pod. Like us on Facebook, and we are on Instagram at Wrestling Junkies Pod.
Awesome. You can also get some great merchandise from them as well. Thanks a lot for joining us here. Stay tuned to Wrestling Spotlight TV. We got some great action coming up from Glory Pro, from Pro South, from Wrestle Arts, and Central States Wrestling getting back in the ring coming up this Saturday, the 26th. Have a great night. We'll see you back here on Wrestling Spotlight TV.